Come on, fire. As long as you get fire, you my fault. I'll never let you down. That's good about it. YouTube! Hey man, say man back another video. I've been trying to make more videos, but my OBS, not even OBS actually, my headphones. And this was bugging. And it took me a while to figure that out. Anyways, long story short, back another video. How the most iconic gangsters died. Yeah. I'm actually curious. I just see this video on my For You page just scrolling. I was like, damn, this looks interesting. A little graphic, but like kid friendly, you know what I'm saying? Not too serious.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Ooh.
On May 23rd, 1930.
I don't even know the full story about this.
23-year-old Bonnie Parker and 25-year-old Clyde Barrow were driving through rural Louisiana in a stolen Ford V8. The couple had spent 2 years robbing banks and stores across the Midwest, becoming America's most wanted criminals during the Great Depression. Law enforcement across 5 states had been hunting them. A posse of 6 lawmen, led by former Texas Ranger Frank Hamer, had tracked the pair to Louisiana. Hamer had spent months interviewing their families and mapping their movements. He learned that Bonnie and Clyde regularly visited Clyde's family near Shreveport. On the morning of May 23rd, the officers set up an ambush on Highway 154 near Sillet, Louisiana. They positioned themselves behind trees and an abandoned truck
on some movie shit.
Around 9:15 a.m., Bonnie and Clyde's tan Ford appeared, traveling at high speed. As the car approached, one officer stepped onto the road. Before Clyde could react, all 6 lawmen opened fire simultaneously.
Oh, nah!
Browning automatic rifles, shotguns, and pistols. The sustained gunfire was deafening. The officers didn't shout a warning. They didn't order the couple to stop or surrender. They simply opened fire and didn't stop until their magazines were empty. The fusillade lasted approximately 16 seconds. When the shooting finally stopped, the Ford had rolled to a stop. The vehicle had been struck 1,067 times. Bonnie and Clyde had been hit repeatedly. The coroner later counted so many bullets.
How many? Nigga, are you dumb? This should just say 6, 7?
The vehicle had been struck 1,067 times.
Nigga, whoa. God damn. No warning, nothing. Niggas just like... What did these niggas do? I'm not too sure on the story. Just know the couple, Bonnie and Clyde, rather die, feel me? I didn't even know that's how they died. Nobody told me that. I thought they died a prettier, not prettier, but like a better way. 1,000 bullets? Yo! Them niggas had
been hit repeatedly.
Oh my
God. The coroner later counted so many bullet wounds that he couldn't provide an exact number for each body. The coroner noted that the bodies had so many holes that embalming fluid wouldn't stay inside during preparation.
I don't know what that
died
means.
Instantly in the initial barrage.
Oh my God.
Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow never had a chance to surrender or draw their weapons.
Jeez,
news of their deaths spread quickly. Thousands of people descended on the ambush site and the funeral home where their bodies were displayed. Souvenir hunters tried to cut off locks of Bonnie's hair and pieces of Clyde's clothing. The sensational nature of their death cemented their legend as outlaw folk heroes.
They were viewed as heroes, but y'all still... Controller. I ain't gonna lie, y'all wrong. I ain't gonna lie, nah. Y'all wrong.
On January
Al Capone.
1947, 48-year-old Al Capone suffered a cardiac arrest at his Palm Island estate in Miami Beach, Florida.
Tough.
Capone, who'd once controlled Chicago's criminal underworld and made millions from bootlegging during Prohibition.
Of course he's from Chicago, because all I see is these Capone type of rapper names in Chicago, but I'm telling you, I'm like, why is Capone like so familiar again?
Been living in retirement for years.
I respect
But
it.
Capone's death wasn't dramatic. He didn't die in a hail of bullets or in a daring escape. He died in his bed, his mind already gone. By 1947, Capone had been suffering from neurosyphilis for years, a condition caused by untreated syphilis that attacks the brain. Capone had contracted syphilis as a young man, probably in his 20s. He never received proper treatment with antibiotics because penicillin wasn't widely available until after he'd already developed serious complications. The disease progressed slowly over decades, eventually reaching his brain. By the mid-1940s, Capone's mental capacity had deteriorated to approximately that of a 12-year-old child. The man who'd once commanded an empire of speakeasies, breweries, and criminal operations across Chicago spent his final years in confusion. On January 25th, Capone suffered a stroke followed by cardiac arrest. He died at his Florida home, surrounded by family. The syphilis that had destroyed his mind contributed to the heart failure that finally killed him.
Damn.
Bugsy Siegel. On June 20th, 1947, 41-year-old Benjamin Bugsy Siegel was relaxing in the living room of his girlfriend's Beverly Hills mansion. Siegel had spent the previous...
I wish he would say, like, what crimes they really did. Some of them I'm going to know, but, like, I don't know who the hell this guy did, you know what I'm saying?
Building his criminal empire in California and Nevada, investing heavily in Las Vegas casinos. By 1947, he'd poured millions into the Flamingo
1947, bro.
much of it belonging to East Coast mob investors. The Flamingo had opened months earlier, but was losing money. Siegel's partners suspected he'd been skimming construction funds. They'd grown impatient with his expensive lifestyle and the casino's poor returns. Siegel didn't know that a contract had been approved on his life. Around 10:45 p.m., Siegel sat on a chintz sofa, reading the Los Angeles Times. His associate Alan Smiley sat nearby. Virginia Hill, Siegel's girlfriend, was traveling in Europe. The house was quiet. Outside, a gunman approached the window with an M1 carbine, a military rifle. He positioned himself in the darkness of the garden, aiming through the window at Siegel's profile. The shooter fired 9 shots through the window.
Damn.
Multiple bullets struck Siegel in the head and torso.
Damn.
One shot hit him directly in the bridge of his nose. The force of the bullet was so powerful that it blew Siegel's left eye completely.
Ah, you had to see that, gang.
Was found intact.
My eyes, damn.
Siegel had been sitting. The gruesome detail was photographed and appeared.
What did he say?
15 feet from where completely out of its socket.
Ooh.
The eyeball was found intact on the floor, approximately 15 feet from where Siegel had been sitting. The gruesome detail was photographed and appeared in newspapers. Bugsy Siegel died instantly on the sofa. Within minutes of the shooting, mobsters back east had already taken control of the Flamingo. The hit had been coordinated as Siegel's body lay in Beverly Hills. New management was walking into his Las Vegas casino. The killer was never officially identified.
That's
though
crazy.
Investigators believed it was a professional hitman contracted by Siegel's former partners. The eye detail became infamous and later inspired the death of Mo Green in The Godfather, where a character is shot through the eye in a similar fashion. Dutch Schultz.
That's crazy.
On October 23rd, 1935, 33-year-old Dutch Schultz was dining at the Palace Chop House in Newark, New Jersey. Schultz, born Arthur
let me get that chop cheese.
numbers-backed empire that made him one of New York's wealthiest gangsters. He sat in a private back room with 3 associates discussing business. Around 10:15 p.m., 2 hitmen sent by the National Crime Syndicate entered the restaurant. The mob's ruling commission had decided Schultz was too reckless and needed to be eliminated. Schultz had been threatening to kill prosecutor Thomas Dewey, which would have brought devastating law enforcement attention to organized crime. Schultz had stepped away from the table to use the restroom. One gunman followed him and shot him in the abdomen and left shoulder at close range. The other gunman opened fire on the 3 associates at the table, killing all of them. Schultz staggered out of the restroom and collapsed. He was rushed to Newark City Hospital, still alive but critically wounded. Doctors performed emergency surgery, but the internal damage was extensive. For the next 22 hours, Dutch Schultz lingered in the hospital bed with a raging fever that reached 106 degrees Fahrenheit.
Damn.
Police stationed detectives at his bedside with a stenographer, hoping he would name his attackers before dying. Instead, Schultz drifted in and out of consciousness, speaking in fevered, surreal phrases that the stenographer dutifully recorded. He rambled about his childhood, spoke in apparent code, and uttered bizarre poetry. "A boy has never wept, nor dashed 1,000 kim," he muttered. "French-Canadian bean soup. I want to pay. Let them leave me alone." The transcript of his final words, spanning pages of disjointed phrases, became famous. Historians and writers studied the stenographer's notes for decades, searching for hidden meanings or clues about Schultz's criminal operations. Dutch Schultz died on October 24th, 1935, without revealing who shot him. His fever dream monologue remains one of the strangest documents in American crime history. Albert Anastasia. On October 25th, 1957, 55-year-old Albert Anastasia entered the Park Sheraton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan for his regular morning routine. Anastasia, known as the Lord High Executioner, had risen to become boss of one of New York's 5 crime families.
All these New Yorkers, gang.
From his alleged role in founding Murder Incorporated, the mob's enforcement arm. Anastasia had an appointment at the hotel's barbershop on the ground floor. Around 10:15 a.m., he settled into chair number 4 for a haircut and shave. The barber draped a sheet over him and began applying hot towels to his face. 2 men wearing fedoras and scarves over their faces entered the barbershop. They walked directly to Anastasia's chair and drew pistols. The barber jumped back in terror. The gunman opened fire at close range. Anastasia, blinded by the hot towels covering his face, apparently saw only the reflection of the shooters in the large mirror in front of him. In his panic and confusion, he allegedly lunged at the mirror, attacking the reflections rather than the actual gunman behind him. The shooters fired multiple shots into Anastasia as he grappled with the mirror. He was shot repeatedly in the back and head. Albert Anastasia collapsed on the barbershop floor. He died within moments. The gunman calmly walked out of the barbershop.
Type? So you attacked the mirror instead of trying to take...
and disappeared into the Manhattan streets. The barbershop had been full of witnesses, but no one could provide useful descriptions. The shooters were never identified or arrested. The image of a mob boss dying while fighting his own reflection became one of organized crime's most surreal moments. Anastasia's death marked the end of an era of overtly violent gangster leadership. Pablo Escobar.
Now we know who Pablo Escobar is.
1993, 44-year-old Pablo Escobar was hiding in a middle-class neighborhood in Medellin, Colombia. Escobar had spent the previous year and a half evading Colombian authorities and American DEA agents after escaping from his luxurious private prison. The Medellin cartel boss, American DEA agents after escaping from his
prison? Nigga, this looks like a hotel. What? Bro, this guy's like genius. Bro, what the hell? And he still, they said, I can't even speak. Bro, what you mean? This is his prison. Wow.
Luxurious private prison. The Medellin cartel
and he still left that bitch.
From cocaine trafficking was now cornered. Colombian police had been tracking Escobar through radio surveillance. He'd been making regular phone calls to his family, and authorities triangulated his location each time he used the phone. On the afternoon of December 2nd, police surrounded the building where he was hiding. Around 3 p.m., a team of Colombian National Police search block officers raided the house. Escobar and his bodyguard attempted to escape across the terracotta rooftops of the adjoining buildings. Both men were barefoot. A gunfight erupted as Escobar ran across the roofs. Officers fired from multiple positions. Within moments, both Escobar and his bodyguard were hit. They fell on the roof. Pablo Escobar died on that rooftop from gunshot wounds. The official report stated he'd been shot in the back and head during the firefight. However, Escobar's family has always maintained he committed suicide with a pistol shot behind his ear, fulfilling his promise that he would never be taken alive. Colombian police officers climbed onto the roof and photographed...
But he wasn't taken alive. They killed his ass. But okay.
Escobar's body. The resulting image showed smiling officers posing with Escobar's corpse.
Is that a real fool? Nigga killed the ops. Nigga say, yo, fam, flip me up real quick. Yo, flip me, let me. Yo, what's the word? We just killed that, my nigga Ablo. Yeah, we killed that nigga. Yeah, nigga. Yeah. No, what the hell? They took a photo. You can still see the body. What do you mean they took a... Look how they posted. All smiles, guy. All smiles and shit. Nah, I ain't gonna cap, man. That's fucked up. Nigga posted a picture of his dead ops. Shamba, yeah, nigga, we killed that shit. Nigga, we did that shit. Come get back, nigga. Oh, my God. Yo, what the fuck? Who let this slide? Who let this slide? Are you dumb? What the nigga? You know, fuck the... Fuck whatever he did. I'm saying, that's still a human being. Family, you know what I'm saying? For you to just be posting... Nah, my nigga Pablo. Now I know why they said they killed himself. Nigga, that's the worst way to go out.
Officers posing with Escobar's corpse, treating it like a hunting trophy.
Dead
The
ass.
photograph was distributed worldwide within hours. The Colombian government celebrated the end of Escobar's reign. His death marked the effective end of the Medellin cartel's power. Though violence in Colombia's drug trade continued for years. Angelo Bruno.
100%.
On March 21st, 1980, 69-year-old Angelo Bruno returned to his South Philadelphia home after dinner with his driver. Bruno, known as the Gentle Don for his preference for negotiation over violence, had led Philadelphia's crime family for over 2 decades. His diplomatic approach had made him wealthy and kept Philadelphia relatively peaceful. Bruno's car pulled up in front of his modest brick row house on Snyder Avenue around 10 p.m. He'd just finished a meal of gnocchi at a favorite restaurant. Bruno sat in the passenger seat of his dark blue Chevrolet. His driver, John Stanfa, sat behind the wheel. A man named Antonio Caponegro had orchestrated a contract.
Caponegro? What the fuck?
Having received
I was making shit up.
New York City, who were dissatisfied with Bruno's leadership. As Bruno sat in the car in front of his home, a shotgun suddenly appeared at the window directly behind his right ear. The gunman, who'd been hiding in the darkness, placed the barrel close to Bruno's head and fired. The blast killed Bruno instantly. The shot was so contained but powerful that it didn't shatter the car's windows. However, the damage to Bruno's head was catastrophic. That it didn't shatter the car's windows.
How?
However, the damage to Bruno's head was catastrophic. Contemporary accounts describe the wound as having blown his head clean off, though photographs show the body slumped in the seat. The killing sparked a brutal mob war in Philadelphia that lasted years. Bruno's death removed the stabilizing force that had kept peace. Multiple murders followed as factions fought for control. The photograph of Angelo Bruno's body slumped in the car, mouth open, became one of organized crime's most iconic images.
I ain't never seen these photos,
Chad. Peaceful mob leadership couldn't guarantee safety. Sam Giancana. On June 19, 1975, 67-year-old Sam Giancana was at his Oak Park, Illinois home alone. Giancana had been Chicago's mob boss for over a decade before being forced into exile in Mexico. He'd returned to the United States the previous year and was living under police surveillance due to investigations into his alleged CIA connections. That evening, Giancana's police protection had left early. He was in his basement kitchen around 10 p.m., frying sausages and peppers on the stove. Someone entered the house. Someone Giancana clearly knew well enough to allow inside. As Giancana stood at the stove cooking, the visitor shot him in the back of the head with a .22 caliber pistol. Wow. He fell immediately. The shooter then stood over Giancana's body and fired 6 more shots into his head and neck, forming a pattern around his mouth and chin. When police arrived, they found Giancana dead on the kitchen floor. The sausages were still on the stove, not burned, suggesting the attack happened quickly after they'd been put on to cook. The detail about the unburned sausages became significant to investigators. It indicated that Giancana had been comfortable enough with his killer to turn his back while cooking. He trusted this person enough to let them into his home and stand behind him in the kitchen. Sam Giancana's murder was never solved. The fact that he'd been preparing to testify before a Senate committee...
I have a theory. All these unsolved murders with these gangsters. Cap. I'm sorry. There's no way none of these niggas got caught out. There's no way. I feel like they're just not telling us who it is, or they already got a nigga, or something. What do you mean you don't know who it is, guy? If the damn peppers and the sausages weren't even burnt, that means that nigga could not be that far away. And it's in the 70s, bro. Y'all got cameras. Nigga, fuck Chicago. Run the footage, guy. Bro, what the hell?
CIA mob connection.
That won't make sense to me.
Decades of conspiracy.
It's too much unsolved.
Carmine Galante.
Cap.
On July 12, 1979, 69-year-old Carmine Galante was having lunch at Joe and Mary's Italian-American restaurant in Brooklyn. Galante, acting boss of the Bonanno crime family, had been attempting to consolidate power in New York's drug trade.
It's always New York or Chicago, but what's going on?
The other families. Around 2:45 p.m., Galante sat on the restaurant's back patio with his bodyguards and several associates. He was eating lunch and smoking one of his trademark cigars. The patio was enclosed and relatively private. 3 men wearing ski masks suddenly burst onto the patio, carrying shotguns and handguns. They opened fire immediately. Galante and his bodyguards were shot multiple times at close range. Carmine Galante died instantly, shot through the chest and head. When police arrived at the scene, they found Galante lying on his back near the table. Despite the violent death, his trademark cigar remained clenched tightly between his teeth. The photograph of the dead mob boss with the cigar still in his mouth became the front page of the New York Daily News. The image became one of the most famous mob hit photographs, capturing the violent end of a gangster who'd refused to compromise. Galante's murder had been sanctioned by the mob's ruling commission, which had grown tired of his ambitions. His death allowed for a reorganization of New York's crime families. Joe Gallo, on
Make a trip to Paris.
Oh my fucking god. He's had to kill me, bro.
April 7th, a reorganization of New York's crime families. Joe Gallo. On April 7th, 1972, 43-year-old Joe Gallo was celebrating his birthday at Umberto's Clam House in Manhattan's Little Italy. Gallo, known as Crazy Joe, had recently been released from prison and was attempting to rebuild his criminal operations. He was at the restaurant at 4:30 a.m. with his new wife, sister, and bodyguard. The group was enjoying a late-night birthday celebration when several men entered the restaurant. Witnesses reported seeing men draw guns and open fire on Gallo's table. Gallo was hit multiple times.
At 4 a.m.?
Joe Gallo managed to stand and stumble toward the front door of the restaurant. He made it out onto the sidewalk before collapsing. Some accounts suggest he was trying to draw fire away from his family members still inside. Others suggest he was simply trying to escape or get help. Joe Gallo died on the sidewalk outside Umberto's Clam House. His decision to leave the restaurant in his final moments created lasting speculation about his motivation. His death occurred in front of his family during what should have been a celebration. The killing marked another chapter in the ongoing Colombo crime family war. Gallo's murder was never officially solved, though investigators...
I'm telling you, it's cap! It's cap. It's a restaurant. Ow. Nigga, it's a restaurant. There's telecameras. It's a street. Hella cameras. Masked up. I don't care. Cars. No plates. Okay. Look where it was at. Like, bro. I know it was the 70s, but gang, don't act like there was no technology back in them days, feel me? Because ain't no way all these niggas are getting away with it. They wanted them to die. Listen, they wanted them to die. So, the less crime rate, whatever, but there's always going to be a new nigga coming up. All like they're saying, there's always going to be more crime.
2018.
Whoa, this is hella.
James White
2018?
On October 30th, 2018.
Who's this?
89-year-old James Whitey Bulger arrived at United States Penitentiary Hazleton in West Virginia. Bulger, the former Boston crime boss who'd spent 16 years as a fugitive on the FBI's most wanted list, was being transferred between federal prisons. He arrived in a wheelchair, elderly, and frail. Bulger had been convicted of 11 murders and sentenced to life in prison. However, his most hated attribute among inmates wasn't his crimes, it was his decades of work as an FBI informant. He'd betrayed numerous criminals while running his own operations, protected by corrupt FBI agents.
He's a double snake.
After arriving at Hazleton, Bulger was dead. On the morning of October 15th, prison officials found him unresponsive in his cell.
12 hours.
He'd been beaten to death. Investigations
beaten?
that prison officials found him unresponsive in his cell. He'd been beaten to death.
Damn.
Investigations revealed that 3 inmates had attacked the elderly Bulger. They'd used a padlock stuffed inside a sock as a weapon, beating him severely. The attackers had attempted to gouge out his eyes and cut out his tongue, traditional mob punishments for informants. Despite being 89 years old and confined to a wheelchair, Bulger was targeted because of his reputation as an informant. His killers were later identified and charged with his murder. All 3 were already serving life sentences. Bulger's death brought a violent end to one of America's most notorious gangsters. His decades of manipulation, murder, and betrayal finally caught up with him in a West Virginia prison cell. Paul Castellano. On December 16, 1985, 70-year-old Paul Castellano was being driven to Sparks Steakhouse in Midtown Manhattan. Castellano, boss of the Gambino crime family and one of New York's most powerful mob leaders,
New York, bro,
was meeting associates for dinner. It was 5 p.m. on a Monday evening, and Manhattan was packed with Christmas shoppers. Castellano's driver pulled up in front of Sparks Steakhouse on East 46th Street. Castellano and his driver stepped out of the car onto the sidewalk. It was the middle of rush hour in one of Manhattan's busiest neighborhoods. Several men wearing trench coats and fur hats approached from different directions. They drew handguns and opened fire on Castellano and his driver. Both men were shot multiple times on the busy Manhattan sidewalk. Paul Castellano died on the pavement outside Sparks Steakhouse. His driver also died beside him. Pedestrians and holiday shoppers scattered in panic as gunshots echoed through the street. Across the street, John Gotti sat in a car, watching the assassination.
That sounds hella familiar.
Gotti had orchestrated the hit to take over the Gambino family. He'd deliberately chosen a public location and busy time to demonstrate his boldness. The spectacular nature of Castellano's death, shot in broad daylight in Manhattan's Christmas shopping district, shocked New York. The brazen execution demonstrated a new era of mob violence that showed no concern for public exposure. Gotti's gambit worked, and he took control of the Gambino family. Tony Spilotro. On June 14, 1986, 48-year-old Tony Spilotro was told he was being promoted within the Chicago outfit. Spilotro had spent years running Las Vegas
Chicago, New York.
Enforcing
y'all got the biggest thugs out there. Ain't gonna lie, y'all got it.
Violent tactics had made him infamous and inspired Joe Pesci's character in the movie Casino. However, Spilotro's behavior had become a liability. His relationship with the wife of a casino executive and his increasing violence had drawn unwanted attention from law enforcement. The mob's bosses decided he needed to be eliminated. Tony and his brother Michael were told to attend a meeting in Indiana where Tony would receive a promotion. Both brothers drove to a house, expecting good news. Instead,
kill the brother too?
In the basement of the Indiana house, multiple mobsters attacked both brothers. Tony and Michael Spilotro were beaten severely with fists and feet. There were no baseball bats, contrary to the dramatized version in Casino. The beating was brutal and sustained. Both brothers died from the assault. Their bodies were then driven to a cornfield in Indiana and buried. The mob believed the bodies would never be found. However, a farmer discovered the shallow graves 5 days later. The autopsy on Tony Spilotro revealed something horrifying. Sand was found in his lungs, indicating he'd still been breathing when buried. Tony Spilotro had been beaten unconscious, driven to a cornfield, and buried alive. He suffocated underground. The reality of Spilotro's death was actually worse than the movie version. His murder marked the end of an era in Las Vegas, organized crime. If you enjoyed this video...
Bro got buried alive. Holy shit. We might react to more of his videos. I ain't gonna lie, it was hella interesting. A lot of these niggas went out the worst way. Chicago, New York, y'all got it. I don't want no problems with y'all, man. I don't want no problems with y'all, boys. Y'all got it, bro. I'm a civilian. I just make videos, feel me? I don't do nothing. I just stay in the crib, bro. Y'all got it, bro. I'm a civilian, bro. Y'all got it. Anyways, y'all. That's it, bro. Like, comment, subscribe.